But Mark, let's go ahead and jump into our 11 through 20. And if you're still with us, make sure to rate and review the Onside Kick on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. It really helps us out. Trying to get that 5-star rating from you guys and help us get this rated and get to more and more ears each and every week. If you're joining us on YouTube, welcome into our 11 through 20 for our mock draft. If you're on podcast services around the world, thank you for rolling on through with us. But Mark, we are going to keep it rolling 11 through 20. I will let you start with the Bengals, who are on the clock.
At number 11, the Bengals going to go with Cody Ford, the offensive lineman out of Oklahoma. Then at number 12, the Packers with their pick, Clellan Ferrell, defensive end out of Clemson. At number 13, the Dolphins going to go ahead and go with Drew Locke, the quarterback out of Mizzou. Then we got, 14, Falcons going with Jawan Taylor, a tackle out of Florida. At 15, we got the Redskins going with A.J. Brown, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Then at 16 for the Panthers, we got Ed Oliver, defensive tackle out of Houston. 17, Browns going to N'Keal Harry, wide receiver out of Arizona State. 18, the Vikings going to go Greg Little. They desperately need an offensive tackle from Ole Miss. Then, keeping the trend going on, at 19, we got the Titans going with Donkey Kong Metcalf, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Then at 20, we got the Steelers going with Devin White, the linebacker out of LSU. Finally, at 21 for the Seahawks, Montez Sweat, defensive end, Mississippi State.
Is Donkey Kong Metcalf a Mark Weber nickname, or did you see that somewhere?
No, I just called him because of DK.
Okay.
It might be a thing somewhere.
I was not sure if that was like something that you have seen somewhere and was like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and put down this cool little thing that's going out there. No, I type in Donkey Kong Metcalf and nothing. DJ Metcalf comes up, but not anything like on Twitter or anything about Donkey Kong Metcalf. To be fair, though,
for Metcalf, he's a really good player. So
he's a big wide receiver, too.
Yeah, he's a guy who deserves a nickname. I don't know if that's what it's going to be. People might have some other opinions of what they think his nickname should be, so maybe comment section can let us know.
Well, we'll go right into my number 11, the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to go with Devin White. I had him going to 3.0. It just makes too much sense. Linebacker from LSU. Then the Packers. This was a difficult one for me. Do we go wide receiver? Do we go with defense? They're going to bolster that defense. They're going to go with a pass rush, Montez Sweat out of Mississippi State. Then the Dolphins, they will take Kyler Murray, the quarterback out of Oklahoma. Then the Falcons, they direly need a defensive tackle. They're going to get Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle from the Clemson Tigres. Then the Washington Redskins at 15, they will take our third quarterback off the board, Drew Locke, out of Mizzou. Panthers at 16, they're going to go Ja'Kai Polite, the pass rusher defensive end from Florida. Then the Browns at 17, they're going to go DJ Metcalf, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Then my Minnesota Vikings are going to go with Cody Ford, the offensive lineman from Oklahoma. The Titans at 19, going with Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle out of Clemson. And then the Steelers at 20, they are going to make a funny pick in my mind. They're going to take Marquise Hollywood Brown. They're going to say, hey, Marquise, we are trading away your cousin and drafting you. So you are going to be replacing your cousin in Pittsburgh as we ship him out
Mr.
the
Big
door.
Chest.
Mr. AB Big Chest. And then number 21, the Seattle Seahawks, they will take Brian Burns, the pass rusher from Florida State, which I will say every time I see Brian Burns' name, Brian Burns is not the first name that wants to come out of my mouth whenever I see his name. I always want to say the head of Rooster Teeth, Bernie Burns. Oh. That's what I want to say, but they are completely two different people. I don't know if Bernie Burns, I've seen him in person and I've seen him talk at VidCon. I don't know about his pass rush ability.
I'm going to assume it's not very good.
I don't know if he can get to the quarterback and with what velocity he could get there. Maybe he can. Maybe
Probably
he's hiding
not,
that.
and with not very much.
Maybe
are my
he's
guesses.
hiding that from us. Who knows? But we're going to talk about a few things here with our 11 through 21. The first one we will get into is some good old quarterbacks, Mark. We talked about quarterbacks in 1 through 10. There's no way we leave them out here. And the guy we are looking at is Drew Locke, because Drew Locke in our 3.0, he was not in mine. And was he in yours? I don't think he was. I don't think
so. I think I had him in my number 2, 2.0.
Let's see.
Or it was the very first one. It was probably the very first one.
It was the very first one. The very first one, you had him at 9. The way too early, we both had him. No, we didn't even have him in the way too early. So the only time he has cracked the big board is you had him number 9 to the Jaguars in the 1.0.
Jaguar fans, but that felt good. Number 9.
What are you guys like? What are you thinking about with Drew Locke? Because this is somebody who was like before the Senior Bowl. It was Drew Locke. He'll probably be one of those early second round guys. Now after the Senior Bowl, it's like, hey, you know what? We could take a stab on him right here in the middle of round number 1.
And you know what? I think it would kind of feel somewhat familiar in my case for Dolphins fans to be like, I remember when we got one of these type of guys with Ryan Tannehill. It's just one of those guys where, I don't know, there's upside to it. We need a quarterback. All right, this one will do. It's unfortunate for Dolphins fans out there that I don't necessarily think they'd be that thrilled about it. I don't dislike Drew Locke. But to me, it's kind of one of those, he's good enough, but I don't think he's good enough
to start day 1.
Exactly. And the Dolphins are going to need somebody because they're going to very likely have another situation like they had with Ryan Tannehill, which was he wasn't supposed to start, and there was really nobody else that was keeping him out of it. He won the job, and a lot of people probably would have wished that maybe he didn't. Maybe he would have had more time. But of course, that would have required a better veteran than Matt Moore, I think, at the time, to kind of compete with him. So Drew Locke is that guy where I think he's going to be exactly that. It's going to be that he's got some upside. We need a quarterback. Let's take a chance. I mean, you've got him going to the Redskins, and that easily could happen as well. It's just kind of these are going to be the teams that don't get a Nick Foles, a Tyrod Taylor, or maybe they do get a Tyrod Taylor, and then this is the guy who's supposed to learn under him. But it's just kind of the people who miss out on the quarterback carousel.
And I think the one thing that is going to be a little bit, I want to say, kind of iffy with Drew Locke is he's got a freaking cannon. However, over like the middle of the field, he's kind of inaccurate.
Yep.
Also, like his worst trait has got to be his decision making. And with that comes if your decision making is bad, usually that also means you're not good under pressure.
Yep.
Because guys that have trouble making decisions don't usually make good decisions when somebody's barreling in at them at about what? I'm going to just take a guess and say linemen run at you about 40 miles per hour because that's what it looks like on my TV. That might be a little bit too high.
I think that'd be a little bit too high.
But I'm going to go with it anyway.
Let's just go with a clean 60.
Let's just go at 100 miles per hour. That's what they're coming at you with. That's what it seems like when you're in the pocket. But I mean, that to me is the biggest thing of like with Drew Locke, and the main reason why I had the Redskins go with him is I think the Redskins need to draft a quarterback. They need to. Because you look at their two quarterbacks they got under contract, both of them broke their leg this year. Both of them broke their leg. And with Alex Smith, he broke his leg, but then he had complications with an infection. I don't really know if Alex Smith
lost the leg.
I don't even know if Alex Smith is playing at the beginning of next year.
I'm under the assumption
some people that don't even think he'll play at all.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not going to play next year. I'm under the assumption he will never play football again. It's a point where there's
or if he comes back, he'll never be the exact same.
Yeah, and to answer the previous question, because it was fun, why not? The world's fastest person in the world, Usain Bolt, was able to run at 28 miles per hour. So there's our cap.
So maybe 25 miles per hour is what they're.
If you're almost as fast as Usain Bolt.
How do you spell Usain Bolt really quick?
Usain, right?
Okay. The reason why I ask that is I saw the YouTube video and I got to pull it back up. So he ran the combine Super Bowl weekend. Do you know how fast Usain Bolt can run a 40-yard dash?
I don't know, 4.2.
4.22. So the fastest man in the world can run a 4.2, almost a flat 4.2.
There you go.
40. I think it would have been phenomenal if the fastest man in the world got like a 4.19. Where NFL teams are like, you sure you don't want to come? You sure you don't want to play football?
Yeah.
Because we could really use a spot for. How'd you change a direction? Because I know you're running in a circle most times, or running straight.
All you need is just put them out wide and say, you go that way.
You go that way. Catching the football might be something new.
Not worried about it. Just you run fast. This guy's going to throw the ball. I hope you catch it.
You go fast. You go that way.
It reminds me of Forrest Gump. With his days. What was he, Notre Dame? Not even that, but just of like the scene of how good he was at football, because he just goes that way. He just runs. That's all you got to do. Don't have to understand the game.
Or don't forget about that table tennis, Mark.
Yeah, he was really good at a lot of things.
Tennis.
Drew Locke, in this case, is good at some things, too.
What's he good at?
He's good. Well, you brought it up before. He's good at cannon arming it. He's good at throwing it deep. He's also, unfortunately...
And why would the Redskins want that? Because they want Rex Grossman back on their team.
Oh, they would love
that.
it.
Is not my pro comparison, by the way. While everyone just fell off their chairs because I compared Drew Lock to Rex Grossman.
It'd be beautiful. But it's just one of those things where, for him, unfortunately, he's got some of those issues with the decision-making. Because as much as people want to say a good coach can fix that, it requires consistency.
See, but the thing that I will say about him is, yes, he's got the arm strength, but also, and this is what he does have compared to what a guy like Kyler Murray does not have, he's got the size, he's got the height, he's got the physical tools that you want. He stands in the pocket 6'3", 225. So he's got that bulk. He's got that height. He's got that arm strength. It's just, can you mold everything else? And to me, the biggest thing is the decision-making, because I'm going to go back to a thing I said about Nasir Little on the NBA side. What's above the shoulders is 10 times more important than what's below the shoulders.
Definitely.
What is in between the helmet is super important. And I'm not saying like, oh, you're a bad decision maker, you're a dumb guy, but your decision making is a big part, decision-making. Especially as a quarterback, especially as when you get to the next level. What's the one thing we hear more and more about with young guys and just quarterbacks in general? How quickly he gets through his reads. Yeah. And if he's bad at decision making, he's gonna have a hard time going through those reads.
Exactly. And one thing that I think he needs is that consistency. And Drew Lock would be the perfect quarterback to go to. This isn't going to happen, but a team like the New York Giants who can let him sit behind Eli Manning. There's no one to sit behind on the Dolphins. No one to sit behind on the Redskins. You know, it'd be a great team that he's not going to get to? The Steelers, the Saints. These teams where he can sit, learn for a year, and, you know, not necessarily Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes style, but at least have some time to sit there and learn.
But you know who could get to those teams? And even though you or I don't have him at all in the mock draft spoiler mode, is Daniel Jones. And
we've talked about him on the podcast.
We have. We actually talked about both these guys together. But the thing I want to ask you is, now that we've seen them after the Senior Bowl, is when it comes to Daniel Jones, is he a first round talent? Because obviously I said none of us have him in the first round, but I was shocked to see that Mel Kiper had him at 32 to the Patriots in his latest mock draft.
But I think that's just a classic. Every year, people say the Patriots are taking Tom Brady's successor. And it's just because he's old. It's the same reason why we do it to Drew Brees and Big Ben, because they're old and they need somebody behind them to learn just in case. So it's a popular thing to do. Is it going to happen? I'd be surprised. I don't think Daniel Jones really becomes anything in the NFL.
And the big thing, and it's going to come with both of these quarterbacks, is so Daniel Jones is a little bit different than Drew Locke, but in the end, to me, he's the same, where he's different because one of his strengths is not his arm strength, it's his arm accuracy, where he can throw balls into small areas, kind of like a laser.
Which is great.
And his timing is
But
nice.
in the NFL, you got to be able to take the top off, too.
And that's it. And the thing that I think is really going to hurt both of these quarterbacks, and it'll have to be developed and have to change if they're going to be anything, is also his poise, his decision-making, because he's not as bad as Drew Locke is at decision-making, but he's a guy where it's like, oh, great, I've got zones, I'm in little 10-yard coverages, I'm going to dissect.
Yep.
Oh, wait, I got to read a deep safety? Ugh, I might have problems doing that. And at the next level, I mean, he's lucky Ed Reed's not playing. Because if Ed Reed was playing, he'd be picking off Daniel Jones all the time.
Yeah, well, it's just the simple fact, too, of, you can teach decision-making. You can't teach arm strength.
Yeah.
You either have that or you don't. It's a natural talent. But, yeah, to me, that's why Daniel Jones, no. Drew Lock is a maybe. But I would be a little bit, after free agency, surprised if Drew Lock does go as high as I have him up. But it's because free agency hasn't happened yet.
And the thing I will say about Drew Lock is I think at the next level, he will be a guy that throws a ton of interceptions by trying to force the ball down the field. But let's talk wide receivers.
Let's do it.
Let's take a look. First off, Hollywood Brown. I want to ask you the same question I asked Brandon. You guys can check out this segment on the YouTube channel. Not right now, probably in 2 hours as this goes up at 10 a.m. Central Time. I'm asking the same question. Marquise Brown, foot injury, will not be at the Combine, will not do a pro day for OU. Plans to be back by training camp. Does that affect his draft stock?
I mean, it probably does, just because some teams might get scared of the injury. But when you have a really talented wide receiver, one of the best talents at wide receiver in this draft, and he will be able to play. He's going to play by starting by week 1. He'll be there for the preseason. He should even be there by training camp. You really don't have that good of a reason to pass on the guy just because he got an injury that he's going to get back from. I mean, look at the number 1 overall pick in this draft. With Bosa, he's a guy who got hurt. Ed Oliver got hurt. It's not hurting their draft stocks. I don't see a reason why it really should hurt Marquise Brown's draft stock either. To me, he's still, and I disagree with Brandon on this, I still think he's a top 10 pick.
Well, and that's the thing of, I looked at it where I know for me, the only way he was going to get into the top 10 for me was to have a strong combine, but obviously he's not going to have that strong combine without playing. The one thing I do want to throw out there, though, is last year the highest 40 time for a wide receiver was DJ Chark. Had a 4.3 40. The first one that went in the first round, DJ Moore, a 4.42 40. So you look at it, and first off, 40s don't mean everything when it comes to wide receivers. Like I said, DJ Moore taken 24th overall, DJ Chark 61st overall. He was a second round talent. And the thing that I don't know how NFL teams are going to view it, with me, I think it's getting closer to a neck-and-neck race now between DJ Metcalf and Marquise Hollywood Brown for that top wide receiver spot. Because the thing that you got to look to is, yes, Marquise Brown is injured right now, but DJ Metcalf is also coming off of seasons where he's been injured as well, where injury questions are kind of his big red flag, where he had, I think it was his sophomore season. No, it was 2018 this year, had a season-ending neck injury. No, that was 2018. Would this be 2018? Yes, this would be 2018 season. So, yeah, season-ending neck injury. Now you add Marquise Brown to a Hollywood, and the thing is, a foot injury affects the wide receiver, especially somebody who, what's your biggest strength? You run really fast.
Sure.
So for me, I wonder, because now injuries are both on the table for both of these guys. And yes, Hollywood Brown says, I'm going to be ready by training camp, but you don't really know. There could be setbacks.
Yeah, but you're going to have a
future.
doctor look at him.
Exactly. But I wonder, now that injuries are both on the table, I wonder what NFL scouts are going to think. Are they going to go with the smaller, quick guy or the 6'3", 225 guy who, however, the biggest weakness for DJ Metcalf is his hands. He can't catch the ball. You shouldn't be a wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, DK Metcalf has...
Did I say DJ Metcalf?
Yeah.
I meant DK Metcalf. I got DJ Moore on the mind.
That's all right. DK Metcalf, I think, is a really good wide receiving option for a team that already has kind of some surefire guys. Because, I mean, he's 6'4". He's a huge man. He's going to be able to go up there if you just give him a chance. So I think that DK Metcalf is going to be a really good wide receiving option. But to me, he's not Marquise Brown. I mean, Marquise Brown has that ability to be your kind of number one, takes it up, right over the top. There's your touchdown. You look back at not this past year, but the year before that, when he had 11 touchdowns. You're hoping to be able to get some of that again out of him. I mean, that would be huge. That would be amazing. Actually, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I that wasn't Marquise Brown's stats.
You were looking at Metcalf stats?
No, actually, I was looking at A.J. Brown. I have him pulled up, too. Just because I like A.J. Brown quite a bit.
Well, you got him second wide receiver off the board.
I do really like I really like what he can put out there, what he can provide for a team. But last year was 10 touchdowns for Marquise Brown, and that's what you're hoping for, the guy who can help you just kind of take the top off of a team. For this case, what makes perfect sense to me for the Bills was that's a quarterback that can sling it, a guy that needs somebody he can just kind of throw it up and let him go get it. Big Ben's another one for you, having him go to the Steelers. You're losing Mr. Big Chest, and you need somebody who
really
can do
lean
it.
into Big Chest.
Oh, I love that nickname. I love that nickname so much. It's honestly probably my favorite nickname for any player in the NFL.
I want to make the bad joke of like, oh, AB Big Chest Brazzers, and have that go across the street.
But Mr. Big Chest is a great wide receiver that you're losing out on, and to lose out
ABBC, right? Antonio Brown, Big Chest.
To lose out on Antonio Brown is a huge loss for a team.
But you get his cousin, Marquise Hollywood Brown.
Right? But to get a guy who can do exactly that and give you that vertical threat, give you that deep option, that's huge.
Well, and for me, too, we'll mention some of the guys because you brought them up. So with our kind of wide receiver rankings, if I were to look at our mock draft and say that, is I've got DJ Metcalf number one, technically. Although I think on the big board, I had it switched, but that was before the Marquise Hollywood Brown injury.
Big boards and draft, different things.
So Metcalf number one, Brown number two, A.J. Brown number three, where you have Marquise Brown number one, A.J. Brown number two, a guy we haven't talked about that I think is unique in N'Keal Harry, and then DJ Metcalf. And I bring up N'Keal Harry because this is somebody that I had in my mock draft last time. I had him 19 to the Titans. Didn't necessarily have him in this one because I don't know if NFL teams are going to see him as a first-round talent or if he is going to kind of slink into the second round. Because N'Keal Harry, the thing you got to look at, and he's the wide receiver out of ASU, is yes, his measurables 6'3", 216, which is kind of the same as DJ Metcalf. DK Metcalf. But the things I like about him is, number one, he's got hands. Like, he is catching the ball. He is coming down with it. His hand strength, we don't talk about that much with wide receivers. Like, he will grip that ball, and it's like, it is coming down with me. I am not losing this.
You need a man to catch it.
The question, though, with N'Keal Harry is his change of direction. And could he be a guy that, on some routes, has that snap change of direction to get himself open? Or will he just be like the typical of like, okay, we're going to put him in the slot. He's going to be a guy that we get to, like, we get him in space open. He racks up that RAC and is just a guy kind of like, I don't want to say a Wes Welker because he's not short like Wes Welker, but a guy that's like, I'm going to live in the slot and be that wide receiver.
Yeah, you definitely have good options, and I like A.J. Brown. I like N'Keal Harry, Marquise Hollywood Brown. DK Metcalf, I like him as well, but like I said, he's a compliment kind of wide receiver because you just look at their production that these guys were able to get. I mean, the 2017 Metcalf was just under 40 receptions. That's not necessarily something I'm that confident drafting in the first round. And there's more to it than that. But it just kind of, it makes you hesitate maybe a little bit. But there's definitely some really good players that you need to draft and you need to look at and you need to be able to take advantage of. And, you know, to me, it's important for some of these teams to go ahead and get that weapon because we've had recent quarterbacks being drafted and they need targets. They need weapons. Or you have guys who are losing their wide receivers. They need weapons. So there definitely can be some good quality wide receivers going in this draft.
And the thing I'm looking at is I totally confused some things. I was looking at the wrong thing. N'Keal Harry, I brought up slot receiver. He's going to be your guy that's going to be your X receiver. So he's going to be on the opposite side of the tight end, and he's going to be somebody who's on the line. So I messed that up for you guys sitting at home that have probably let me know in the comment section. Anything you think we haven't hit on the wide receivers or that we haven't hit in general with this 11 through 21?
No, I just think that this is an interesting spot where I do think that you'll see a little bit of a run on the wide receivers.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting to see also where they go because right now many people only have 2 in the first round and then that A.J. Brown, N'Keal Harry. Do they sneak in or do they slink to the second round? But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in that comment section about anything we talked about, any of our picks for 11 through 21, anything we talked about with 11 through 21. Let us know what you're thinking down below.